The reason I wanted to do a show is because of something that happened to me. I needed to get a hospital ID. It was a very busy day, I had lots to do, and I just stopped everything to run over to get an identification made. When I got there, the gentleman working there said he could help me, and we went into a small room to get the identification done. So he did my ID, and then he said, "You're a doctor, right?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Could you answer some questions for me?" So I took a deep breath and decided just to stay with him and let him ask every question he had and wait until he finished everything he wanted to ask me. So he did that. He asked all his questions. And at the end, he said, "You know, God sent you to me." And he had tears in his eyes. And I just looked at him. I just looked at him. And he said it again. He said, "No, God sent you to me. I have not been able to sleep. I've been so worried. I didn't know what to tell the other family members. I didn't know what to do. And you've helped me." So I looked at him, and by then I had tears in my eyes because I just don't think it should be that hard for people to get their questions answered, to find out what's going on with their loved ones. I had never met him. It was a chance meeting of two strangers, and he felt like he really, really needed to talk with someone. So I was that person. So he thanked me and I left. But I thought, there's just got to be an easier way for people to get the information that they need. There's just got to be. So this show is part of my answer. Welcome back to Health 101. We're talking about risk factors for heart disease. We want to lower them. Smoking. Okay. Smoking is not sexy, it's not glamorous, and it's not cool. You may be sexy, glamorous, and cool, but it's not because you smoke. Stop. Now, all you folks who do snuff and chewing tobacco, I am talking to you. You have an increased risk of death from a heart attack because you dip snuff and chew tobacco. So you got to stop too. All right, enough said. You know what you got to do. Elevated cholesterol. Okay, now, everybody knows about cholesterol. You've heard this before. We're going to go through it. Easy, easy. This is easy. No problem. No rocket science here today, I promise. So let's get through it. Okay. VLDL, LDL, HDL. VLDL is very low density lipoprotein. LDL is low density lipoprotein, and HDL is high density lipoprotein. And I say it like that because your doctor will say it like that. It'll be like that in the news. It'll be like that on your lab report. Okay, here's the test. Which one do you want to be high? As high as you can get it, and you want to keep it high. Which one do you want to be high? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, right. It's HDL. You can remember that because H can stand for heart or health. But you want it to be high. How do you get it high? You exercise. How do you keep it high? Keep on exercising. It's thought to be protective against heart disease, so you really want this to be high. Okay, which one is closely associated with the risk of heart disease? So you want it to be low, 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 as low as it can go. Which one is that? It's LDL. So the HDL you want to be high, the LDL you want to be low. Now, if the LDL isn't low enough, you may have to go on medication, but the HDL you can control. Just exercise and we'll get it up there, and it is thought to be protective. Okay, see, that wasn't bad. That's cholesterol. A lot to say about diabetes. The big news you've probably heard about is type 2 diabetes. It was described in older folks who were inactive, not eating right, eating a lot of rich foods, and their blood sugar was high. So the treatment was just to put them on a reasonable diet, have them exercise more, lose a little weight to get their blood sugar back under control. If that didn't do it, they would take medication, okay? So now kids, children have type 2 diabetes. This was never described in children at all. And children all over America have it. And those children that have type 2 diabetes are overweight, overweight, overweight. They're inactive and they're eating all kinds of things they shouldn't. So if they're having this big medical problem as children, in their 20s, what will they be like? Okay, so type 2 diabetes. But here's the good news. Here's the good news. If you have been exercising, if you're trying to stay away from rich fatty foods, You are already working on your diabetes because part of control is exercising and eating reasonably. High blood pressure is huge. A lot of people have high blood pressure. In the American diet, salt is everywhere, and salt is huge with high blood pressure. But let me say this first. If you have high blood pressure, get it checked often. If you're on prescribed medication, take it. If you have trouble with your prescribed medication, let the prescriber know that. Don't just stop taking it, because if you don't take it, it increases your risk of heart disease. Okay, salt. We're going to make this easy. 3 steps. 3 steps. Step 1, don't cook with salt. Don't cook with salt. You can use paprika, you can use garlic powder, don't use salt. When you sit down to the table, you can use salt. Use as much as you want to taste. Step 2, cook with salt. When you sit down to the table, do not add salt. No salt. You can add pepper. Step 3, use a salt substitute. There used to be only one on the market, but now there are more than that, and they're better. If you do any of the 3 steps, you will lower your salt intake. So try one. Find out which one works for you. But salt is huge. It's everywhere in the American diet, and lots of it. Okay. Family history of heart disease. You remember those cards we talked about? You get dealt cards, and either it's a good hand or not such a good hand. Well, you cannot pick your relatives, not even on this show. So, if you have a family where everybody has heart disease, guess what? Your risk is high. If you have a family where hardly anybody has heart disease, your risk is low. And this is the only one on the list that you can't change, because those are your genetics. So this risk factor you can't do anything about, but it's good to know. Okay. The last risk factor we're going to talk about is obesity. And I saved this for last because if you are trying not to have a sedentary lifestyle, you're exercising, if you are trying to eat more fruits and vegetables, if you are doing those things, you probably are already losing weight. But obesity is a risk factor for heart disease. So let me talk a little bit about women, because there's some news to tell you. You already know that men tend to have heart attacks around age 40. That's different for women. For women, they tend to have heart attacks around age 50. So there's a 10-year difference. The other thing about women is they did a huge study, and research studies that are big are very helpful because you feel like the information is reliable. About 27,000 people in the study, 52 countries. And for women, physical inactivity was huge, huge. So women were inactive, which set them up for obesity, diabetes, hypertension. So that those really were very big factors for women in terms of heart disease. So physical inactivity is a huge, huge factor for women, because if you're more active, you can bring your blood pressure down, your diabetes can be more manageable, and you can manage your weight. So there's a 10-year difference between men and women when you have the first heart attack. But after age 50, women catch up and their risk goes up to that of men. So the risk starts to increase at age 50. So what everyone needs to do is to start working on those risk factors. Now you remember, this is a section where you have to do to. So what kinds of things could you do? Well, there's lots of things you could do. One is to exercise. Remember, if you start exercising, don't exercise alone. Always go in a well-lit place. Let somebody know where you're going and how long you expect to be there. I walk. I walk in a mall. The mall opens earlier than the stores. The help desk tells me if I go around once, it's half a mile. It's climate controlled. I live in a place that's hot and humid. So I go to a comfortable place and I can walk. I don't take any money with me because it's not a shopping trip. I'm supposed to be exercising. But I will walk around and I count how many laps I've done, and I look at my watch and see how much time. There will be other people there, there's store windows. So I can count my laps and walk. So I don't know what you like, but you have to find what you like and get it going. The other thing about fruits and vegetables is that it's a little bit hard to get that into the diet because the American diet has kind of left those things out. But what I do for my kids is when they come home at the end of the day, everybody wants a snack. So I will cut up celery into about this size pieces and put it on the inside of a bowl and put light salad dressing in the inside of the bowl and hand it to them. And that's their snack. It's a vegetable, but don't tell them. The other thing I keep are carrots. The little carrots, the petite carrots, because they're a little bit sweet. They have a nice taste. And I line them inside the bowl because these are finger foods. You pick them up easily. And I put light salad dressing in the middle. So they may have carrots as a snack one day. They may have celery another day. If they have that as a snack, then at dinner, right on their dinner plate, I will slice pears or slice apples or slice oranges because that gives me an extra fruit. So just in a short time, without a lot of work on my part, I've added a vegetable and a fruit. All right, we'll be back in a minute with more.